Running with Mataji with prayers, Mataji, in the meantime.
Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Jaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudhiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. Shall I start or wait, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, I can share the screen if you like.
So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, the Hamsaguha prayers offered to the Lord by Prajapati Daksha. From the text 45. Text 45.
I made you the co-host, Prabhu. You can share now.
Text 45. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Manus, all the other demigods in the higher planetary system, and you, Prajapati, who are increasing the population, are working for the benefit of all living entities. Thus, your expansion of my marginal energies are incarnation of my various qualities. Text 46. My dear Brahmana, austerities in the form of meditation is my heart. Vedic knowledge in the form of hymns and mantras constitutes my body, and the spiritual activities and ecstatic emotions are my actual form. The ritualistic ceremonies and the sacrifice, when properly conducted, are the various limbs of my body. The unseen good fortune proceeding from pious or the spiritual activities constitutes my mind, and the demigods who execute my orders in the various departments are my life and soul. Text 47. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, I alone exist with my specific spiritual potencies. Consciousness was then unmanifested, just as one's consciousness is unmanifested during the time of a sleep. Text 48. I am the receiver of the unlimited potencies, and therefore I am known as a unlimited or all or prevadding from my material energy. The cosmic manifestation appeared within me, and in this universal manifestation appeared the chief being, Lord Brahma, who is your source and is not born of a material mother. Text 49 and 50th. When the chief lord of the universe, Lord Brahma, Swayambhu, have been inspired by my energy, was attempting to create, he thought himself incapable. Therefore, I gave him the advice, and in accordance with my with my instructions, he mm, underwent extremely difficult austerities. Because of these austerities, the great Lord Brahma was able to create 9 personalities, including you, to help him in the functions of the creations. Text 51. O my dear son Daksha, Prajapati, uh, Paranjana has a daughter named Hasikani, whom I offer to you so that you may accept her as your wife. Text 53. Now, untie in sexual life as man and woman, and in this way, by the sexual intercourse, you will be able to beget hundreds of children in the womb of this girl to increase the population. Text 54. After you have given birth to my many hundreds and thousands of children, They will also be captivated by my illusionary energy and will engage like you in the sexual intercourse. But because of my mercy to you and them, they will also be able to give my presentation in devotion. Text 54. Sukadev Goswami continued, after the creator of the entire universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, had spoken in this way in the presence of the Prajapati Daksha. He immediately disappeared as if he were an object experienced in a dream. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purpose of Canto 6, Chapter 4, the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled the Hamsa Gruha prayers offered to the Lord by the Prajapati Daksha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thanks so much, Radharani Mataji. Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, whenever you're ready, you can take over, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Radharani Mataji, thank you for reading today. Siddharth Prabhu, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining this Monday morning. For my own purification, for the pleasure of all assembled Vaishnavas, we'll be reading something from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, text 46 to 54. Start by offering my prayers. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Te Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणम्. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are reading from Canto 6, Chapter 4. Just to give you a brief preview of what's been discussed so far. So in the beginning of this particular chapter, Parikshit Maharaj inquires more about the secondary creation that is created by Lord Brahma onwards, to understand how the demigods, the demons, the mankind, the animals, they all came into being. And while explaining that, Sukdev Goswami begins to narrate a story of the Prachetas, who were the 10 sons of Prichinibhari. And once they came out of their meditation and they saw that the whole world was covered with a lot of weeds and trees, and there was so much overgrowth of plantation that good healthy soil was not coming up. So as a result, they became angry because they wanted to relieve the suffering of the world, and they started burning everything. So in order to please them, the moon god Soma, who is also the protector of vegetation, he approached them and kindly requested them to pacify their anger, because the trees are very, very important for sustenance of life. So being pacified by them, so they've offered one of the apsaras to them, and through that relationship, Daksh Prajapati was born. And Daksh Prajapati, he took upon his role of increasing the progeny of this world, but still not being completely satisfied with this service. He offered the wonderful Hamsagriya prayers to the Lord. And being pleased by those prayers, in the past couple shlokas, we see the Lord finally appears before Daksh Prajapati. And this section today, the Lord is going to narrate some of his glories, some of his potencies, and in the end, he's going to award the benediction to Daksh Prajapati as he desired. So in text 46, start from today, the Lord goes on to describe that, my dear Brahmana, austerity in the form of meditation is my heart. So in this particular text, Prabhupada describes in the purport that people want to see God always. They want to see God in front of them with their own material eyes, and that is not possible. It is possible for devotees to see God when they read scriptures with full faith. We get the understanding that Krishna, as a person, is a supreme personality of Godhead. He has a very personal form, a very personal relationship with each and every soul and living entity. So you can get that realization once we continue to read the Shastras, practice as sadhana very well. We can have that personal realization of the personal form of the Lord. One famous incident, one person, when Prabhupada was giving a lecture in the temple, one person, he was facing towards the deities, and the audience was sitting in between. And one person stood up and said, have you, Guru, like, Mr. Sannyasi, like, have you seen God? And Prabhupada said, yes, I can see God. So he said, where is he right now? He said, you are standing in between me and him. If you sit down, I can see him. So in that funny way, he rejected that other person's challenge. But so the point is that a pure devotee can understand the form of the Lord. However, for those who cannot understand the form of the Lord because of the lack of devotional service, for them they can understand the form of the Lord indirectly, how it's described in this particular verse. So where it says that my dear Brahmana, austerity in the form of meditation is my heart. So austerity meaning tapa presents the heart of the Supreme Personality. The Vedic knowledge in the form of hymns and mantras, they constitute the entire body of the Supreme Lord. Spiritual activities and ecstatic emotions are my actual form. The ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices, when properly conducted, they, they serve as the various limbs, the hands and legs of the Supreme Personality of God. The unseen good fortune proceeding from pious or spiritual activities constitutes my mind, and the demigods who execute my orders in various departments are my life and soul. So in this way, an individual can indirectly understand the Supreme Personality of God in his form as well. So just to discuss a little bit about each of the aspects that is mentioned, the first one that's mentioned is Tapo me hridayam brahmamans. That tapa, Srila Prabhupada describes in the purport, or austerity, is the first principle of spiritual life. The first thing that we need to do when we come to spiritual life is try to be austere and try to control our senses. And that is why Prabhupada, one of the basic rules that we begin to follow once we come into Krishna consciousness is the four regulative principles. No meat eating, no illicit relationship, no intoxication, and no gambling. Now, oftentimes people in this material world find it very difficult to restrict themselves, and they're even challenge that what is the need to do that? We should be independent, we should be free, we should be able to do whatever we want to do. And that's a very regressive mindset to think that you should need to control yourself or limit yourself. But the truth in life is that limiting ourselves, controlling ourselves, performing these austerities, restricting ourselves gives us actually immense power that we don't realize. And that power, Srila Prabhupada describes as is important for us to be able to begin to understand spiritual concepts. Because without these basic tapa or austerities, it is very, very difficult for us to understand high spiritual concepts. And I'll just share a couple examples with you in regards to that. So, once there was a father and a son who were flying a kite, and the kite was going higher and higher. The father was letting the string loose, and as the kite was going high, the son kept saying, "Oh, father, take it higher," and they had reached the end of the rope, the string. So the son was like, "Oh, father, I wanted to go higher. Why don't you cut the string and let it go higher and higher?" So the father said, "Okay, you want me to cut the string and see what happens?" He said, "Yes, it will go higher." He said, "Okay." So he cuts the string. And as many of you have seen kite flying or flown a kite, you know what happens when the string gets cut. The kite immediately falls to the ground. And the son was perplexed. And he was like, I'm not sure what happened, father. I thought the kite would go higher. And the father said that actually it was the string that was helping maintain the balance of the kite in the air. And although it seemed like that the string was holding the kite down, it was in fact the string that was actually keeping it up. So also, my dear son, when we follow rules and regulations, when we follow discipline in life, we can we can maintain a certain degree of purity in our life. Another example I had heard recently from another devotee in a lecture was that, about an archer. So when an archer has to hit a target, has to shoot an arrow towards a target, the first thing that he does is not take the arrow and throw it towards the target, or move forward, or push something, the first thing that an archer does is he focuses on the target and he pulls back the arrow in the string. So somebody might think and ask, oh, you have to go in that direction. Why are you pulling your arrow back? But the answer we all understand is that for the arrow to be able to fly and hit the direction, it needs to first withdraw itself, gain energy, and then with that energy, it will be able to achieve the task it needs to achieve. That is why Srila Prabhupada gives so much emphasis when he describes in this purport about tapa, that without tapa or austerity, we will not be able to achieve higher spiritual principles. The next thing that's described is the Vedic knowledge. So the Vedic knowledge given in the form of Upanishads, Vedas, and Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, they constitute the body, the framework of the Supreme Lord. The limbs, when conducted properly through in proper with proper brahmanas, with proper equipments, the rituals, they constitute the limbs of the body, the arms and legs. Good fortune is the mind of the body. The demigods through whom the Lord, Supreme Lord, controls the different aspects of this material creation, they constitute the life air of this body. So in this way, one can indirectly see the form of the Lord, even if he's not elevated to the spiritual platform. Text 47. This is a wonderful text, and the purport is pretty extensive. I would recommend devotees to read the purport to this text today, if you have time. In this text, is described that before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, this is the Lord speaking with Daksha after he appears. He describes that before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, I alone existed with my spiritual potencies. Consciousness was then unmanifested, just as one's consciousness is unmanifested during the time of sleep. Prabhupada in the purport begins with describing that the different forms of the Lord, the very fact that Lord uses the word that I alone existed with my specific spiritual potencies, goes to denote the fact that the Supreme Lord is a person, and he's a person beyond the material conception, of form, which is temporary, beyond the material conception of time, because the Lord's form is not temporary or is not unreal, but it is eternal. And it's not like the form that we see in this world. He has a form, but his form is very different from ours. And in this particular way, the Lord describes that he exists even before, he exists even now, and even when there's a dissolution of the universe will happen, he will continue to exist. However, Prabhupada describes that in the form of the people in this world is very temporary. And there are times when there's partial dissolution that the form that the living entities may merge into the effulgence of the Supreme Lord or Brahman. But Prabhupada says that the word that's described for that phenomenon in our Shastras is called Brahma Leena. So Brahma Leen means temporarily residing in the spiritual energy of the Lord. However, when this material world's creation happens again, that those living entities who are temporarily residing in the spiritual energy of the Lord, they come back again, manifest again into material bodies to continue the earthly pastimes. So in a way, so that phase, just as when we're asleep and we lose a sense of form and who we are and what we are, so similarly, one's consciousness becomes unmanifested. Text 48, Lord goes on to describe his unlimited potency, that I am the reservoir of unlimited potency, and therefore I am known as unlimited or all-pervading. From my material energy, the cosmic manifestation appeared within me, and in this universal manifestation appeared the chief being Lord Brahma, who's your source and not born of a material mother. So, in the invocation to Upanishad, the Lord describes that Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Purnam Udachyate, that everything in this world is but a part of me. It comes from me. I am the source of all those things. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma himself says that Krishna or Ishvara is Sarva Karana Karanam, that he is the source of everything, and he's also the cause of everything that happens in this universe. So we always sometimes think that, oh, we things are under my control. I can work hard and I can achieve a certain goal, or some particular thing happen because of me. But we are only partially responsible for anything. There are a lot of other factors, like our karma, the benediction of the Lord, our efforts, a lot of other things, the modes of influence, the modes of material nature that go on for any task to be achieved. So I remember from a lecture from Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj, how he had described wonderfully that we are all like mini Ishwaras, because we feel that we have mini control over my house, over my job, over my life, you know. But beyond our mini Ishwaras, there are the demigods of this material world who control the different elements like rain, sunlight, moonlight, fire, wind. So they are the Ishwaras, or they are the controllers of this different aspects of the material world. But even beyond the demigods, there is Lord Shiva, who is the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is Maheshwara. So there's mini Ishvara, Ishvara, and then there is Maheshwara, and he also exerts control, but only on the material realm, because he is a generation or form of the Supreme Lord when it comes in contact with the material energy. So his control lies over the material realm, and that's why he's called Maheshwara. But beyond these mini Ishvara, Ishvara, Maheshwara, there is Parameshwara. Parameshwara is the one and supreme personality of Godhead. That is Lord Shri Krishna. So in this particular way, the Lord says, I am the one who is all pervading, and everything is manifesting within me. And from me appeared Lord Brahma. So he's describing briefly how creation began in this world. So he is the source, and from him came Lord Brahma, who is also described in this verse as Swayam Bhuva. Swayam Bhuva means one who's generated on his own, not 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 like a typical child is born of parents, but one who comes appears on his own with the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We know how through his navel the lotus stem and the lotus flower appear, which the Lord Brahma appeared. Um, Text 49 to 50 again goes on to describe that when Lord Brahma appeared, he was inspired by the Lord, and he attempted to create, although he was incapable. So he was in complete darkness. We see that's how the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam is described, that when he appears, Lord Brahma, he didn't know what to do, where to go, and he traveled up and down the lotus stem, and then finally he decided to meditate. And when he meditated, or he heard the sound vibration called tapa, 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 and when he heard the sound vibration, he underwent extremely difficult austerities, and then because of this, he was awarded the ability to secondly create. So you basically use the creation that the Lord Supreme Personality of Godhead has already given him, those elements, and to use those elements in order to create 9 personalities, including you, O Daksha, to help him in the function of creation. And thus the Prajapatis were born. The progenitors of this universe appeared by the creation of Brahma in this particular way. So Prabhupada describes that there is again, he again reasserts the importance of austerity or tapa in this world, and we see that in the Shastras there are many wonderful examples of different personalities who underwent tapa. One example that comes to mind is of Gandhari. When she decided to blindfold herself in order to give semblance to her husband, even though it was not a very wise decision, but still that austerity of doing that gave her immense power to her vision, that she could offer benediction of strength to whomever she could, she wanted. So Prabhupada also describes that we also have to purify our existence by tapasya. So again, when we come into Krishna consciousness, we have to follow certain do's and certain don'ts. So the do's are called the vidhi, things that we are supposed to do, and the don'ts are called nished, things that we are not supposed to do. If we are able to follow the rules or the vidhi and avoid the nished, things we're not supposed to do, we can advance in spiritual life. And the same thing Srila Prabhupada describes as King Rishabhadev. He instructs to his own sons the importance of austerity and tapasya. In text 51, goes on to describe that, my dear son Daksh, the particular Prajapati Panchjana has a daughter named Asikni, and who the Lord is now giving a benediction to Daksha. I offer to you that you may accept her as your wife. Text 52, he again says that now you will be able to enjoy sexual intercourse with this woman, and you'll be able to beget hundreds of children in the womb of the girl to increase the population, because this was the desire, this was um, the request that Daksh Prajapati had when he was offering these prayers, because he wanted to fulfill his or do the task to the best of his ability to be a progenitor of this world. This is the Lord in his mission. Now, it is described that Srila Prabhupada begins the purport saying that sex life that is not contrary to religious principles is considered to be acceptable, and that is from Bhagavad Gita 7.11. However, people who engage in unrestricted sexual pleasures, they definitely fall down this world. One may think now that this particular benediction, it is a little difficult to understand how the Lord is offering this benediction, but Srila Prabhupada helps us understand the right perspective of why um, even an interaction like this, which sometimes is looked as abominable, because it is being used for the service of the Lord to increase the progeny of the universe, is actually a benediction that the Lord is willing to offer. However, that is not the supreme benediction that the Lord offers. And very interesting that, Daksh Prajapati, he offered such wonderful prayers to the Lord. He actually got darshan of the Lord. The Lord is standing right in front of him. He achieved that degree of purity, but still there was a dint of material desire, material inclination in him. That because of that, instead of awarding him pure bhakti, he got this benediction of continuing to enjoy in this material world through sexual intercourse. The other reason that the Lord did not offer him this particular benediction of Krishna Prem, of pure bhakti, was because of his offense to a great Vaishnava. So we had read in Canto 4 how Daksh Prajapati, because of in his inherent pride, he had created great offense to Lord Shiva, and because of that offense, even though he was very a noble person, and was attempting to try to go back to Godhead. So instead of going back to Godhead, he went back to Goathead. And in this particular way, he got stuck and he was miserable, and he gives up that body and now appears as the son of the Prachetas. So, but that offense to the Vaishnava that he created in his past life, with that offense, even though he was able to see the Lord, he still was not able to achieve the highest perfection, that is Krishna Prema. So this tells us also about the importance of Vaishnava Pradhana. So even though this is a benediction, this is not the supreme benediction that we want or somebody should desire. And another example actually Prabhupada gives is of Dhruva Maharaj. So you see how Dhruva Maharaj also, when he approached the Lord with a material intent. But as soon as he saw the Lord, and through the process of chanting the holy names, Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Narayana, similarly, when we chant the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, all the material desires, all the inclinations that we may still have, even though we are trying to practice bhakti, will eventually dry up, will be burned to ashes by the power of the holy name. So by practicing this constantly, slowly, once the material desires go away, when we able to see the Lord face to face ourselves, we won't have any material inclinations or hankering, unfortunately, like how Daksh Prajapati had. So Dhruva Maharaj also through that process purified himself. And after 6 months, when he got darshan of the Lord, then he quotes those wonderful verses saying, I'm so crazy about what I came here for. I was asking for pieces of broken glass when I can actually get diamonds in form of your pure bhakti. So he also got a very different benediction than what Daksh Prajapati got. This example is quoted by devotees. The text 53 and 54, the chapter concludes. The Lord again gives them another benediction that after you give birth to these thousands of children, they will also be captivated by my material energy and will engage in this business of increasing the progeny of this world. But because of my mercy to you and them, they will also be able to give me presentations and devotion. So the Lord is so merciful that even the little bit of seva, the tapasya that Daksh Prajapati has done, he ensures that he will award him some benediction, some protection. But at the same time, because he had some material desire, the Lord gives him this benediction to fulfill it as well. So in this last shloka, Shukdev Goswami then describes that after describing or giving this benediction to Prajapati Daksha, the Lord then disappears from that place as if he was an object experiencing a dream. So with this, we end this wonderful chapter of the Hamsa Guya prayers by Daksh Prajapati. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll see the chapter of how the interaction between Narad Muni and Daksh Prajapati happens. Please forgive me if I've said something, I made some mistakes. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavind ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chaitanya Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.